As often happens here, there's more things that we decide we want in our home or that would be really helpful. And one of the things I've wanted for a long time is this shelf with the tipping rails, the brass tipping rails on it. So in the process of this and looking for ideas, I asked Jim, what do you think about this, hon? And being the good sport he is, he jumped in and helped get this all done. This literally has been made from plywood and lamp parts and steel bars. So join us on the journey for figuring out how to make this look like hardwood rather than plywood. Because we're using plywood, you have rough edges that you don't want to see. So what you can buy is a product that is called wood banding. It's super thin veneer that has already pre-glued. I've got it in the bag, I'm not taking it out. You do not want sawdust to get on that, anything to attach to it, because on the underneath side there is glue that has to be activated by heat of a hot iron, and this is not the plywood we're using. I'm just using this as a way to show you how this product works. So once the iron is really, really hot, you want it on high with no steam. You want to make sure that the face plate is clean, because whatever is on there can melt onto your veneer. So you are going to heat it. It moved on me. It's still hot, so I can lift it and move it. It's one of the good things about it. And then you're going to put a block of wood or a wallpaper roller, but you want to adhere that down, absorbing. The wood block works to absorb the heat while still giving pressure on this to let this stick. And once it's cooled, you have to sand off the extra edge overhang. But instead of this rough looking edge you've got here, you've got a smooth edge like this. This material will also work if you used a slab on the top of a counter or the top of something you're building, and you've got that raw edge and you don't want to put a molding on it. You could put this wrapped around it. It most commonly comes in the hardware stores in 1/2 inch, and this is 7/8, but you can get it from woodworking companies like Rockler in different wider widths. This is birch. Hardware stores carry birch and oak, but companies like Rockler carry all different kinds of wood species banding, but it really makes a nice finished edge for you. This is ready to start staining. All of the pieces have been finished sanded, fitted. We know they're going to go together right. So the last step before staining on raw wood, always use either the wipes, or if you have the liquid and you don't have the wipes, get a paper towel, wet but not drippy, and wipe down the wood. You do not want to put all the degloss, the liquid deglosser straight on this. It will soak in, it will raise the grain really badly. I just want to make sure there's no oils from us handling it. It's been completely freshly sanded, so there shouldn't be anything on here. But it's just a last step to make sure everything is ready to go. And it also grabs up any leftover sanding debris that may not have been picked up with other things. And you can see it's not wet, except for a couple of spots right here. It did not make it wet. Set up. I tested several different colors of stain, blends of stain, and you'll be able to see in photos why. It needed to match or complement the colors of barnwood that was reclaimed from 100-year-old barns in East Tennessee that we've used as part of the accents in the kitchen. So after I found what I wanted, which turned out to be 1.5 parts of provincial and 1 part of walnut, I tested again on this board after I had mixed to make sure it was still the color match. And then I also tested how the stain took on the banding. And on the banding, it looks like I'm going to need 2 coats, which is what I did to get this color, to get it to match this color here, which is what the final color that I wound up wanting, and matching to this one. So that being said, now I'm ready to start working on this. I have way more stain here than I need, but I like the color, and because I'm working with raw wood, I did not want to have to remix in the middle and risk the stain not matching, and it's a color that I'll happily use on other things as well. If you have a really wide surface, like a table, one of the things you can do is tape down the middle and start in the middle, work to a side, and come back. Go around to the other side of the table, work from the middle, and go out. This is too wide for me to comfortably come over here and get good straight lines and get a good even wipe back. So I'm going to do a couple of bands, maybe 3 on this side, then I'm going to go around to the other side of the table to get what I need. And we're going to time this for you so that you can understand how quickly you need to work with stain over raw wood. You need to do it over a finish too, but over raw wood it's really important because it will soak in, it will create lap lines, and you don't want that. Even though this is topical, it can still dry quickly and cause you issues. I'm working in the garage today instead of the shop because we have a unseasonal cool day here, which is pretty nice. And again, I do not want just blobs on here. I do want this on really good to give me a nice coat on here. This is a chip brush, and I'm going to go ahead and wipe back, and in fact, I'm just going to go ahead, this is smooth enough for me. I'm not going to use the microfibers. I'm going to ask Jim to grab me some paper towels and just take it back with good paper towels. Don't leave it sitting too long before you decide to wipe back, or it will be a problem. Good paper towels will work without leaving lint. Cheap paper towels will not. They are your enemy. And doing a slight rub while you're doing this helps to work the stain into the finish. Sorry for the racket. And this is a 3-inch brush that gives me a pretty good band. I'm going to go ahead and start here with the second band. Over raw wood, I'm using pretty strong pressure on this. Over a finish, I would not. It sounds like the neighborhood motorcycle has decided to join us. The brush has filled enough with stain now that I don't have to tap as hard getting it off. I just want to get it evenly through the brush. And this is not going on as thick as paint. It may look really heavy, but it's not. It's just a full coat. And my paper towels are not saturated. The plus with using a paper towel is you don't get any pullback on it of creating lap lines from it dragging. I'm going to do one more line on this side, and then I'm going to move to the other side. If you work slower than me, you have to wipe back without going the whole length. If you work quickly like this, you're not trying to make perfect strokes of stain on this surface. Any place where I'm seeing that there's some line, that's what I'm going back over. To make sure that that doesn't dry out onto this before I get back. And you can also see I'm walking along this. I'm not trying to make big, long strokes with my arm because you will not keep straight lines. I did not use wood conditioner on this because this is birch, and I knew birch would take my stain evenly. Before I go to the other side, I'm going to make sure I don't have any spots. This needs more coverage. We pause long enough to set up, move this just a little bit. And you should see that I am going back into where I have already applied stain, but I'm not going way back into it. Just enough to make sure there are no gaps. The stain brush for me is too small for a large project like this. I went over a little bit here because I put too much stain down here and I didn't want to waste it. And I'm using firm pressure to wipe this back. And especially like right there where it had gone overlapping. I'm getting rid of any line that might want to form there. And all of this dark here is not a line of stain lap. It is the grain of this birch. have a lot of the paper towels already ripped, ready to use. This was 15 minutes applying this, wiping it back, total in real time. There are no lap marks, there are no brush marks, there's no heavy globs anywhere. Any of the dark that you see on this is the natural grain of the wood that I wanted to come through and I wanted to see. So the next piece we're going to show you is a side piece for this, to let you see how I'm doing that. These have been set up on a jig so that I can get all of it done at one time. Because if you're doing both sides of a piece of wood that's going to be visible, it's really easy to get stain to lap, and you don't want that no matter how fast you're moving. And the other thing is, whatever you have it sitting on can create a spot where the stain can pool. So we have used double-sided tape and a small piece of wood that's the width of this board to both lift it up off of this and to stick it to this board and this board, so that as I'm working, I won't get that. I'll get stain down on this board, but that's not a problem. I won't have a spot where there's a thickness that's hard to wipe off or hard to get in there without making it too heavy. I'm going to do the side, the other side, and as needed, wiping off on this. Since I already know this may need 2 coats, I don't want to mess with the center of it if I can avoid it, and do that the very last thing, and I will do that with a cloth and my finger and not a brush. So this way, these are stuck upright, they're going to dry upright, and I don't have to wait to for one side to dry to turn it over and do the other side. Jigs, whenever you can use them, are always helpful with what you're trying to do. They make less work and easier for things to be finished. Because this is relatively narrow, it's 7 inches, I'm going to do it in sections instead of the full length, because I'm trying to deal with that band. I could have started and gone down the entire bottom edge, and the first thing I'm wiping off is anything that got up here on this band. The other reason I don't want to do the band yet is I can put my hand on it to keep this from rocking off. And you should clearly see there is no stain lap line there. A little bit more awkward to get my brush back and forth Your final wiping back, always need to follow the grain. Endwise with the brush, depending on how it's pulling, makes it easier to spread the stain without having to put too much on the surface. You notice I'm keeping my fingers splayed out so I don't reach back to grab the back side of that board, because you will put fingerprints on new stain no matter how much you have wiped back. It will happen. Keep turning the paper towel so that you've got dry spots to pull the stain off with, or you'll just keep pushing it back on. Circular motion of the seam helps you grab it all. The band, I'm going to try to very carefully stay just on here with my finger, but I'm immediately going to wipe on the sides as well as on the band so that I don't get lap lines on it. And that's another reason why I want to do it with this old piece of t-shirt and just a little bit of stain. I don't want any of it to go lapping over the edge. And I'm very lightly going to wipe the band because I'm hoping, and yeah, it looks like by not wiping it hard and rubbing it with the cloth with my fingers, I'm going to be able, it's matching both sides without having to do another coat, which is awesome. I'm not seeing anything on the sides with how I'm putting this on, but better safe than sorry. Like everything else, check the edges that nothing did get down on the side that you didn't see, because once it's dry, it's there. So, the other side's going to be done the same way, and so are the shelves. This looks like it's heavily loaded with stain. I have been using this brush all afternoon doing all of this. So every time I tap it, every time I move it up and down, it works stain into the bristles. So it's not that it is super heavy on my brush. It's just a process of it being moved in here. By keeping my brush flat, just like on the longboards, by keeping my brush flat, I don't put so much out on the front of the band. And on something small like this, I can do all the edges first. If by some chance you do what I did a little while ago and you look down and realize you have put stain on a top that you want to still be able to wear without spots all over it, stop when you have a break point and go in and wash it out with mineral spirits, and then Dawn. By having the holes already drilled and everything sanded, I've got a smooth finish of stain over this, and there won't be second one I've had all day. There won't be any splinters that could show out from under the brass pieces when I put them on the front. Make sure you have gone back and straightened your lines, no matter which way you had applied it. that front edge first. If you have to use 4 or 5 paper towels to get the stain off of something in a space like this, you're applying way too much stain. Cut back on what you're applying. Just the rubbing it will move it all over the board. And these are setting in clamps so that I can do both sides at the same time. And lastly, just like I did on the big long boards, I'm going to use the cloth to get the front edges. And I'm going to visually check it that nothing got skipped and there's no excess. Now, this one's ready to come out of the clamps carefully between the two of us and put it over to dry with some of the others that have already been done. Now you can probably clearly see why I wanted this set of shelves. Thanks for joining us. Hope you're inspired to do some projects in your own home. Please like and subscribe. It helps to support us for all the free information we're giving to you. Thank you.